With the biggest event in UFC history, in UFC 300 now behind us, it's time to look a bit into the future and determine matchups for every fighter that fought at UFC 300. I'm going to go from the first fight of the night to the main event of the night and determine every fighter's next fight that I think the UFC should book. If you enjoy the content, subscribe, like, do all that good stuff. And all my socials are in the bio if you want to check any of that out. Let's get right into it. Starting with the first fight, we have Garbrandt versus Figueiredo. Obviously, we're going to start with losers first, so we're going to start with Cody Garbrandt. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, he's coming towards the back end of his career, sort of. I know he's quite a young guy, but like, he's had ups and downs. I think he's coming towards sort of the back end of his career. I think he's just going to look for fun fights now. I think this was his last chance to sort of be a competitive guy in this division. So what's more fun than a double retirement matchup of Cody Garbrandt versus Dominick Cruz in their second fight? I mean, I think this is just absolute peak. I think this is what the UFC should be doing. I don't see what else they would book. They gave Cody Garbrandt a bunch of bumps to fight, to beat up on, to build his confidence for a fight against a ranked guy. He lost to that ranked guy. Yes, he looked decent, but I just think his confidence is going to be low now again. I think building him up again is going to take too long. I think just book him against fun fighters. And everyone has wanted to see that Garbrandt versus Cruz fight. You can put that on a main card of any pay-per-view, and people will be excited to see it. I think that's the course of action. Cruz will probably retire after that fight. Maybe Garbrandt won't, but like, then you just keep giving him fun matchups. And maybe if he shows something more, then okay, we'll give him a ranked guy again. But now just give him good matchups that people want to see. Cruz 2 is that matchup. Then we have the winner of that fight, which is Deiveson Figueiredo. This guy deserves to go high up in the division. I mean, he beat Rob Font in his first fight at bantamweight, and then he fought way back to a guy who's unranked in Cody Garbrandt. I just think he needs a high-level competition guy. The name I have down here is Peter Yan. I think, personally, the UFC are going to try and book Vera versus Cejudo, which leaves Yan without a matchup, because Sandhagen's going to fight Nurmagomedov. So, best course of action, Figgy gets the fight up. Number, I think, 5 in the division, I want to say. Not Jan Blachowicz, holy shit. Peter Yan. But, yeah, I mean, a winner of this fight, I think it's a big fight, it's a fun fight, and I think the winner of this fight can fight in an number one contender fight. I think this fight makes a lot of sense. If they don't end up doing Vera Cejudo, then they'll probably do Yan Cejudo, and then you just put Vera versus Figgy, but either or, give Figgy Yan, give Figgy Vera, give him someone in the top 5, and let's see if he can really make his mark at this division and become a champion in this division. Then we move on to the old-timers, the absolute GOAT, Jim fucking Miller. The issue with Jim Miller is he got absolutely rolled, and now he's not going to fight a ranked guy, or I don't think they're going to give him fun matchups. I don't see why they would. I think he's going to be sort of a journeyman now going forward. They're going to give him young guys coming up. And who's a good guy coming up who just had an amazing performance? Bahamondes. I want to see this fight. I think Bahamondes versus Miller would be elite. It would test Bahamondes a lot. Miller's such an experienced guy. He's so well-rounded. It'll test a lot of Bahamondes' skills and answer a lot of questions about him. This guy has elite striking, Bahamondes. I think this would be a tough matchup for Miller, but I think it's the one the UFC will go for because they need to push some of the younger guys. Now, Miller's 40 years old. This was his last chance to sort of make one last step at maybe getting high ranking or fighting really elite guys in this division. He got rolled by Green. You got to fight down now, and you got to fight prospects in this division. I think Bahamondes is the perfect candidate for the Jim Miller fight. I think this fight would be amazing, and I think it's a fight the UFC should look at. Then we go to the winner, Bobby Green. Dude, I don't really know what you do with Bobby Green. He just lost to Jalen Turner, got absolutely flatlined, and now he destroyed Jim Miller. But the Jim Miller fight was more of a fun, sort of gimmicky fight. So I don't think you give him someone high ranked, because all the guys higher ranked than him. I think the guy who's going to be one above him after the rankings update is going to be Jalen Turner, who just destroyed him. So it kind of leaves him fighting down in the division. I wrote 2 names here. I think he either, if Jared Gordon beats Nasrat Haqparast, I think you run that fight back. They had a no contest in the first fight. Controversy in that fight. I think there's unanswered questions with that fight, and I think Jared Gordon's on a really good streak where you can validate him fighting a ranked guy if he beats Hackpress. Or another name I have written down, which is someone who is ranked but below green, is Matt Frivola. These guys have not fought. Frivola coming off a loss to Saint-Denis, and Green coming off a win to Jamila. Obviously, the loss to Jalen Turner recently. This could be a good matchup to see who progresses in this division. The loser will fight up-and-coming guys. Winner will get a higher-up matchup. Maybe Dan Hooker, someone along that line. I don't know. I think that one of those matchups would be good. Either Green Gordon, let Gordon fight a ranked guy. Bobby Green's the perfect candidate for that. Or Matt Frivola to see who remains in the rankings. I think those are both fun matchups. I'd love to see both of them. And I think that's course of action for Bobby Green. Then we have Marina Rodriguez versus Jessica Andrade. This fight was absolute bullshit. Marina Rodriguez wins this. Won this. Did not win. Wins this. Won this. So, it's whatever. Marina Rodriguez is going to have to fight down in the division now, even though she got robbed. It's fine. I think easy one here. Give her Lupi Godinez. I don't really see anyone else for her. She's fought Amanda Ribas. She's fought... I can't even think of her fucking name. Mackenzie Dern. She fought Mackenzie Dern. She fought Amanda Ribas. I don't want to see any of those fucking matchups. Lupi Godinez coming off a very close loss in a decision to Janny Roba. I think you can give her someone slightly up. I think Rodriguez will be ranked like 6-ish after this. Godinez will be 10. You give Rodriguez someone further back after a loss. I think this makes sense. See who can make it back to the middle of the rankings and then fight higher up. You give them a loser of someone in a high-ranking fight. Something like that. I think this is a good test for Lupi Godinez. We clearly saw Marina Rodriguez still has it after going on a 2-fight loss streak. And then obviously turning it around with I think it was the Michelle Waterson fight. So I think Rodriguez still has it. I think it's a good test for Godinez after showing that she can be a top person in this division. And I think it's a decently fun matchup for a women's MMA fight. I think that's the next fight they should do. Then the winner, loser, but the winner that got given the fight by the judges, Jessica Andrade. I don't think she's going to be fighting the top people. I actually have her... The person I've picked is ranked lower than her, but you'll understand. I picked Verna Jandiroba. I think this makes sense because they're going to book Suarez versus Lemos, which is obviously got cancelled, which was supposed to be booked. Winner of that will fight for the title shot. Andrade lost to Yan Xiaonan recently. Yan Xiaonan absolutely destroyed Andrade recently, so that fight also makes no sense. I think Jandiroba coming off a win against the up-and-comer fighting back in the division. I think it makes sense to push her up. I think she's fighting up one with an Andrade fight, but the Andrade fight will obviously have bigger ramifications if she wins that one, because then you look up in the division to people like Yan Xiaonan, you know? People like that. You could, however, do Xiaonan versus Jandiroba, but maybe that does make more sense. But then Andrade is kind of fucked, because then Andrade fights back again. This division is fucked. I'm just going to stick with what I said. I'm going to stick with Andrade Jandiroba. Winner gets the fight, number one contender fight. I think good course of action. Maybe you could run Andrade Rodriguez back, but I don't see why you would do that. Let Jandiroba fight a person that's high up in the division, higher up than she fought in the last fight because she fought back. So I think principle she gets the fight up now. And I mean, it'll just be either Jandiroba gets it down, or Andrade will just power Chad man her, you know, like one of the two. Fuck it. That's the matchup I'm going with. Then Jalen Turner versus Renato Money Moicano. With Jalen Turner, I think this is an insane matchup that I'd absolutely love to see. I picked Joel Alvarez. The two 6'3" lightweights get to fight each other. I think this is a absolutely elite matchup. I think they should run this. Imagine two 6'3" lightweights in the same cage. It'll look like middleweights fighting out there. It'll be so fun to see. Alvarez coming off wins after losing to Sarukian. He's coming off nice performances. I think he deserves to fight a ranked guy, and there's not really anything else for Turner. I'm pretty sure he's beaten Frivola. I maybe could be wrong. He's beaten Frivola. He knocked the fuck out of Bobby Green. Just lost to Moicano. Lost to Hooker. Not gonna fight Saint-Denis, I don't think. I think Saint-Denis will probably get like Fiziev. So He's gonna have to fight someone unranked, and I think the best course of action for the UFC is to book their 2 weight bullies in the same fight and determine who's the best weight bully. And I mean, it's a fun matchup. I think this fight would absolutely slap. You could put this fight, hold on, you could put this fight on Ilya's next fight in Santiago Bernabeu, the Real Madrid Stadium. This could be like a main card opener. This could be a really big fight because obviously the Spanish links with Alvarez. Give him a ranked opponent. I'm cooking with that one. Turner Alvarez, UFC, Dana White, book that shit. Then we go on to Manny Moicano. I don't even need to give much explanation for this. They were talking about it before Moicano even fought Jalen Turner. Paddy Pimblett's been calling for it. I leaked who it was. I think Moicano's going to fight Paddy Pimblett next. I think that's the fight they'll go for. It's a guy that's ranked in the division. And I think it's a guy that Pimblett can beat because Moicano's striking. Pimblett's area of concern is the striking. And I don't think Moicano's striking is as intimidating as other guys in this division. If you put Pimblett against the Benoit Saint-Denis, the UFC and Dana White will be shaking. They don't want to lose their star. Their star boy in Pimblett. I think Moicano is a good matchup because Pimblett obviously has a great grappling. Moicano has great grappling. Test Pimblett against the grappler in his first ranked matchup. This makes sense. This makes a lot of sense. You could even book this as a Fight Night main event, maybe, but it'll probably be... I assume they'll do opener of the England card. That's what I'd predict. Because I'm pretty sure if Aspinall doesn't fight on the Brazil card against Pereira, I think he'll be in the main event of the England card against Curtis Blades, probably. So just give them a co-main event or opener of the England card. That'll cook. We're good there. Manny Moicano, Pimblett. Let's see who's the real, big money matchup. And also, if Pimblett loses to Moicano, Moicano will build such a name for himself. He'll become a star in its own right. So the UFC won't lose too much stock of that. I just think this fight makes a lot of sense. And it's the, I'm not going to say easiest, but it's the best stylistic matchup that Pimblett could get to fight a ranked guy. So I think it makes sense. Then we move on to the first prelim fight of the night, which was Sodiq Yusuff versus Diego Lopes. For Sodiq Yusuff, he got absolutely rolled against an unranked guy in Diego Lopes, even if Diego Lopes was a huge prospect coming up. He's gonna have to fight another unranked guy because he just got rolled by Edson Barboza, right? And Edson Barboza's fighting. Edson Barboza's booked. You have guys at the back of this division booked. He's beaten Alex Caceres. Can't book that. He's gonna have to fight an unranked guy. And what better unranked guy than Nathaniel Wood himself? I think the UFC deserves to give Wood something good after he got absolutely fucked in his last fight by a cheater. You know who you are. I think just give him a guy that's 13th. Wood is a good prospect in this division. Even though he lost his last fight, I don't care. He got absolutely robbed. Give Yusuff... put this fight also on the England card, bro. This could be prelim, headliner. This could be main card opener. This could be just a main card fight on that England card. This would be a huge fight. Cements Wood to potentially be a ranked guy at featherweight and fight up. Could get the Lerone Murphy fight booked again. Like, there's a lot of opportunity for Wood if he gets ranked. And I think that's what the UFC should do next. I think it makes a lot of sense. Give Nathaniel Wood a chance to prove that he got robbed in his last fight. And prove that he's a ranked guy in this division. Nathaniel Wood... not Diego Lopes, holy shit. Nathaniel Wood, Sodiq Yusuff, that's the fight I want to see personally. And then we go on to Diego Lopes, the absolute GOAT, who just keeps on rolling people. He called for Evloev. I don't think he's going to get the Evloev fight. I think Evloev will fight someone more closer to his rankings. Even though Diego Lopes arguably beat Evloev, arguably. Arguably. But I think they'll give him a decently ranked guy. The name I've landed on is Giga Chikadze. There's not much reasoning behind this. They could give him someone like Bryce Mitchell too, but I just think why give him someone who can grapple when you can just have him roll Giga Chikadze through grapple fuck, like. And if he doesn't roll Giga Chikadze by grapple fuck, then they will have a sick matchup on the feet. So win-win. This fight will be sick for the rounded loss, or maybe the 3 rounds of loss. Who knows? I think this is a good test for Diego Lopes, though. It's a guy who can strike. Chikadze, I think he has a bit sus grappling. Hasn't really been tested. But Chikadze also pulled out of his last fight against Josh Emmett. So I think he deserves to fight back in this division now. And I don't think they're going to rebook Emma Chikadze. I don't see why they would. I think Diego Lopez versus Chikadze would be a sick fight. Put this on any main opener of a main card, and this fight will absolutely skyrocket that pay-per-view to the moments this fight will produce will be amazing. I just think this is an insane fight that the UFC should really look at booking. We move on to Holly Holm versus Kayla Harrison. I've written down for Holly Holm retirement, but if she decides not to retire at the sweet age of 42, then we're just gonna give her an absolute killer in Macy Chiasson and make sure she does retire, because I don't want to see her fucking fight Juliana Pena again. I don't want to see her fight Jermaine Durandamy again. I don't want to see her fight the people she's lapped in this division 100 million times over. You either fight someone who's new or you fucking retire, bitch. That's my that's my opinion. Fight Chiasson, who's coming off an amazing win. Chiasson, who deserves someone higher up in this division. It's self-explanatory. I don't really need to explain more. You have to fight up-and-comers or retire. You decide, Holly Holm. Then we move on to Kayla Harrison, who had a beautiful dominating performance. They're going to give her Pennington. No. They're just going to give her Pennington. They're going to give her the title shot instantly. Pena can go fuck herself. She got rolled by Nunes. Who cares, bitch? You're going to have to fight a contender, Pena. How about that? Or they'll do Pena Pennington soon, and then Harrison will fight the winner. One of the two. Who the fuck cares? So either, I think Harrison will fight who's ever the champion at the time. Whether that's Pennington, whether that's Pena, it doesn't matter. She's getting the next title shot. Her next fight will be a title shot. She absolutely destroyed Holly Holm, and I think that warrants a title shot with the star power that Kayla Harrison holds somewhat. For women's MMA, she holds star power, fair enough. She's fighting for the title next. Dana White is absolutely loving this. He's loving that Kayla Harrison just won, and he's going to make sure that she wins that title because this division is dog shit. There we go. Then we've got Calvin Kattar, Aljamain Sterling. Calvin Kattar, personally, he's on a 3-fight loss streak. He had that injury. He got absolutely destroyed by Aljamain Sterling. He's going to fight back in this division. I think a guy you book him against, you're not going to give him... I just think, for fun matchups, rerun the Dan Ige fight. They had a close... I think it was pretty... They had a good fight in 2020, 4 years ago. Kattar obviously coming off 3 losses on a bit of a downward streak. Ige back in the division. Ige coming off a win against Andre Fili. So I just think run this back. This will be a fun matchup. You can put this on a Fight Night main event. You can put this on a Fight Night co-main event. You can put this on a main card opener. This will always be a relatively fun fight. I just think Kattar needs sort of a more of a striker type matchup. I don't think you need to give him these grapplers. You don't need to give him a grappler like Bryce Mitchell. Give him someone fun. Let him use his striking and potentially get a win in this division. Because 4-fight win streak is kind of crazy. I mean, 4-fight loss streak is kind of crazy for a guy as talented as Calvin Kattar. But yeah, personally, Calvin Kattar and Ige strikers matchup. I like the matchup. Let's book it. Then we've got Aljamain Sterling, the man of the hour, who absolutely 30-27 destroyed Calvin Kattar. I think the fight you book here, Brian Ortega. Personally, I don't think Brian Ortega has anything going for him right now. He beat Rodriguez, but I think he's not going to get the next title shot. There's no one at the top of this division that he's going to get given. He just beat Rodriguez, who's right behind him. The closest guy that's going to be to him is Evloev. They could book him against Evloev, but I just think it's more fun. Sterling, Ortega, that would be fun. Give Evloev like Rodriguez and then test the striking. I don't care. Give Evloev someone, dude. Throw a random thing in the hat. Who cares? Evloev can go fuck himself. Sterling, Ortega, that's the fight I want to see. Submission expert, grappling expert. Can Sterling submit Ortega? Can Ortega submit Sterling? There's a lot of questions in this matchup. I think the grappling exchanges in this matchup would be absolutely filthy disgusting, and I want to see it. Sterling limited Kattar to I think it was 4 significant strikes the whole fight, so he deserves to fight up. He deserves to fight a guy who's up in this division, and I want to see him against Brian Ortega or maybe Yair Rodriguez. If you want to just see Rodriguez get absolutely destroyed, give him Aljamain Sterling. But I think a more fun matchup is Brian Ortega in this instant, and you could put this on the Spain card too. Winner gets to fight Topuria, or the winner of Topuria and whoever he fights. You know, I think that would be fun. Let's book it. The next fight we have is Rakic versus Jiri Prochazka. We're gonna start with loser. Alexander Rakic looked good in this fight. I don't think he deserves to be crucified with like a really low ranked guy. So I'm just going with a guy who's on a nice win streak, a guy who deserves to fight up in this division, who's not too far away from Alexander Rakic's ranking. I've got Nikita Krylov. I think this matchup would be fine. You run this on somewhere in Europe. Who cares? They probably won't though. They'll do like main card of a USA fight, but I think they should run this fight. Fight night Slovakia, whatever the fuck you want to do, dude. You can't do Fight Night Ukraine, but Fight Night Slovakia, Fight Night Croatia. Let's bring out fun fight nights again. They used to do really fun venues, and they don't do it anymore. So let's run a fun venue in Europe for Rakic versus Krylov. I think this would be a good matchup. I'd want to see this. I think this could be a really entertaining fight. You obviously have... I mean, Rakic looked amazing in this Yuri fight. He just got clipped. So I think Rakic's still a top guy in this division. I think he deserves to fight someone who's still... what do you call it? Who's still very good in this division. I don't think you limit him to like a really shit fighter, you know? Let's not limit him to like number 10 in the division. Let's give him someone who's number 6, who's on the up. Nikita Krylov, Alexander Rakic. I think this would be a fun matchup, and I think it's what they should book. Then we have Yuri Prochazka. Yuri Prochazka. I think this is a relatively easy one to say. This fight was supposed to happen for a title, and it didn't happen. And obviously, this guy just lost. He's ranked number 1. He fought on this card in the main event. I think you run Yuri versus Jamal Hill. They obviously couldn't run the fight with the title on the line, but I think it's time you book this fight. Hill obviously got destroyed by Pereira. Yuri got destroyed by Pereira. Let's see who's number 2 in this division, you know? Let's see who can progress to get a title shot against Pereira again, unless Pereira loses to another guy we'll say on this list. But we'll talk about that later. But I think this is a fun matchup, strikers matchup. These guys aren't grapplers. These guys will strike on the feet. This could headline a fight night. This could co-main event what do you call it? A main card, like a pay-per-view card. I just think this is a really fun matchup for the division, and I don't know why you would book Yuri versus... I mean, you could do Yuri Blachowicz, but Blachowicz is coming off a loss to Pereira, and he hasn't fought in a little bit. I think Blachowicz deserves to fight someone further back. The matchup I'd look for Blachowicz is Khalil Roundtree, personally. I think that would be fun, but I want to see Yuri Hill. I think it makes a lot of sense, unless they want to do another funky fight night main event with Rakic, or not Rakic, with Yuri facing Blachowicz in like Poland or something like that. That could be fun. But if they don't do that, Yuri versus Hill on any pay-per-view card would sell. I think they're both 2 big names. They're both strikers. This fight would absolutely slap. This could get fight of the night with ease, and I want to see this fight. Then we move on to the main card, starting off with Cody Brundage. I don't fucking care. I'm not gonna waste your time. No one cares. I put him against Eryk Anders. Bro, he's 10-6. He got absolutely rolled by Mo Nickel. He's a bum. Eryk Anders, he's a journeyman in the division. Perfect. Love it. Perfect matchup. We're moving on. Bo Nickel. I think he needs a higher quality matchup. I've picked a guy with a pretty big name in the division. A lot of the I wouldn't say even hardcore guys, a lot of people that watch UFC would know this name, and I think it's a big win that Bo Nickel could potentially against a guy that's somewhat washed. He's washed. Let's be real. He's washed. I picked Brad Tavares here. Brad Tavares, perfect name for Bo Nickel to beat, and it'll actually look like a good win. Tavares lost to Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva lost to Chris Weidman. That's how you know he absolutely sucks right now. Tavares blows. He's a perfect matchup for Bo Nickel. I don't think Tavares has great wrestling. There was a point where he was known for good takedown defense, but I think that sort of weathered away with his skills. I just think this is a guy Bo Nickel can beat easily, relatively easily, and it's a huge name, a huge win to get. Bo Nickel himself said he's got 4 to 6 more fights until he gets to a title fight. So let's just build. Do Tavares, do a guy right outside the rankings, do a ranked guy, ranked, title fight, something like that. I think it makes sense. I think Brad Tavares is a good step up. It's not a bum. He's just washed. It's not a bum. He's just washed. He's got a good name. He's got good name value. You can put this as an opener on a pay-per-view card. You could even give him a 5-round main event if you really want, but that would not sell jack shit. But give him a pay-per-view opener. Give him Brad Tavares. I think this is the perfect matchup. I think it makes sense. Maybe it's not as high up as some people would want to see Bo Nickel fight, but I think it's a good step up. I think this is the fight to make. Next, we have Charles Oliveira, who very well could have won against Tsarukyan. It was a split decision, but he didn't get it done. It was a close fight. I think you can't really complain about that decision too much. But the matchup I've put for him here, I think is the only right call. It's Mateusz Gamrot. Mateusz Gamrot, as much as I think he's boring as shit, he deserves to fight up. He deserves to fight up in this division. And I think fighting he'll probably be number 2 or 3 of the rankings update. But fighting a guy who's as well known as Charles Oliveira, and who's as good as Charles Oliveira, and who's as high ranked as Charles Oliveira, I think it's a perfect step up for Gamrot to prove that he can be a contender in this division. Oliveira is dangerous on the ground. He's dangerous on the feet. I don't think this is an easy matchup for Gamrot whatsoever. He would really struggle with this matchup, but if he can get it done, then it's a huge opportunity. Charles has such a huge name, and he's known by everyone in the fucking UFC. Who watches UFC, everyone knows the name Charles Oliveira. This is a huge matchup for Gamrot, and I think it's the only matchup they can do. You got Justin Gaethje, Oliveira. Gaethje's going to take time off. Oliveira's going to want to be in there soon. He didn't take an insane amount of damage. And then, you've got Dustin Poirier, who's fighting for the title. You've got Arman Tsarukyan, who he just lost to. And then you got Gamrot. He's not fighting Beneil Dariush again. He's not fighting Fiziev. The Gamrot fight makes sense. It's a guy who's not too far off his ranking. Who's also like, what do you call it? A guy he can beat quite easily, I reckon. And it's a guy who can get him back into contention. Because Gamrot's on a nice win streak. He beat RDA. He fought back in his last fight. He deserves to fight up now. Even if it's boring. Let's ignore it. Let's watch him get rolled by Charles Oliveira. Next. Arman Tsarukyan. He beat Oliveira. This was booked as a sort of title contention fight. Whoever won this is the number 1 contender. I still think that's in effect. I think Tsarukyan will fight Islam in October. I think that's pretty fair enough. This was slated as a number 1 contender fight. I think it will remain a number 1 contender fight. They're not going to change any rules here. Tsarukyan will be fighting Islam in October in Abu Dhabi. If Islam beats Poirier, which he will beat Poirier surely. If he doesn't, then Poirier vs Tsarukyan in America. Who cares? Whatever. But this matchup makes a lot of sense. They fought before in Tsarukyan's debut. Obviously, Tsarukyan was way less skilled. Islam also way less skilled. And it was pretty competitive for a guy whose UFC debut that was against Islam Makhachev. So I don't want to see this fight rebooked. 5-round fight. Let's do it. Tsarukyan, let's see if you can become champ, bro. Let's see if you're him. Islam Makhachev, Arman Tsarukyan. Let's do it. Abu Dhabi. It makes complete fucking sense. Let's not screw this up, UFC. This is perfect. Then we move on to a guy who got absolutely brutally KO'd, who I said would win very easily. Who did not win very easily. Who actually got destroyed, matter of fact. Justin Gaethje. I said it like a minute ago. He's going to take a lot of time off. He's probably going to take a good year off. A nice year off. Close to a year off. And I think he's going to wait for a lot to change. Because I don't really see who he could fight right now. He's not going to fight Dariush. That makes absolutely no sense. Fiziev, he just beat. Makes no sense. Chandler's booked against McGregor. Dustin Poirier's fighting for the title. If he fights within a close enough amount of time, I think the fight to book is Dan Hooker. They've never fought before. I'd love to see a Gaethje vs Dan Hooker fight. I think that fight would be absolute moolah. That fight would cook. You can make that Fight Night main event, or you can do that. It'll probably be main card or pay-per-view. I don't think Gaethje will fight on Fight Night main events, but have it as a pay-per-view opener. Absolutely insane, crazy fight. I think that would be a sick fight to book. But if he takes a year to a year and a half off, a lot will change. I think you book him against loser of McGregor Chandler, or just the winner of McGregor Chandler. I don't care. If McGregor wins, I think he's gonna fight not Islam. No, he's gonna fight Diaz if he wins, and he's gonna fight Diaz if he loses. So if Chandler loses or wins, I think maybe you book him against Gaethje, run that fight of the year back, and yeah. Gaethje, a lot of unanswered questions, but Hooker, Chandler, McGregor, one of those three, take your pick. I think that's the matchup you make. Then we go on to a man who's absolutely entering his prime. A guy who looked like absolute insanity. Insane performance. Max Holloway. This is easy. I think the UFC would be stupid to not book him against Ilya. I think Volk's going to take some time off. So it makes an opportunity for you to book Holloway to Poirier in Spain. huge sales. That fight would absolutely slap. But if Volk is the guy that they want to fight Topuria, I think Holloway will just wait. Why not? Fight the winner of Volk Topuria too. Or another guy I've written down here, fight Islam for the title. I think the UFC will do it after that performance against Gaethje. Gaethje was a guy who was going to fight for the title. So if Holloway takes like a bit of time off, winner of Topuria Volk, if they do that, or winner of Islam Poirier, Islam Tsarukyan, whatever they book, one of those two, he's fighting for a title next. That's all I need to say. Absolutely insane performance. Holloway will fight for the title next, 100%, whether it's lightweight or featherweight. He's fighting for the title next. That's what I want to see. That's what everyone wants to see. He's a huge guy in this division. He looks like he's just entering his prime when he's been in the UFC for 12 goddamn years. Give this guy a title fight. He has really stepped it up in his game, and I think he's an insane fighter who deserves the world, you know? Then we move on to Yan Xiaonan. This was a sort of difficult one to find someone because, let me just read this out to you. She just lost to Zhang Weili, who's the champion. Tatiana Suarez is fighting Lemos, pretty guaranteed. Andrade she just beat. Jandy Roba I have facing Andrade. You could do the Jandy Roba fight, but I don't think that's what they're going to do. Marina Rodriguez, she lost to. So, and Rodriguez does not deserve to fight number 1 after losing. Makes no sense. Mackenzie Dern, she's beat. Amanda Ribas, she's beat. Oh wait, no. She hasn't beat Ribas. And that's why Amanda Ribas is the person I've picked. It's the only person she hasn't fought on this goddamn list. And it's the only person that I sort of have a reason for picking. They've never fought. Let's book it, UFC! Woo! Let's get it booked. That's the only logical explanation I have. Give her Ribas. There we go. And then the winner, the champion, absolutely good performance, but Weili Zhang, this is easy. Winner of Lemos Suarez. Whoever wins Lemos Suarez will be Weili's next opponent. That's easy, self-explanatory. And I think Suarez will win. I think we'll have Suarez versus Weili towards back end of this year, probably like August, September. It depends when they book Lemos Suarez though. It could even be end of the year, like December, November, but this is the next fight to book. I want to see it. Suarez, if she beats Lemos, undefeated. If Lemos wins, she's on a 2-fight win streak, I want to say. So, yeah. Either you run back Lemos fight, or you have Suarez versus Weili Zhang in an absolutely insane fight. That fight would be ridiculous. But, yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. We move on to main event guys of this division. I already explained who I think Jamal Hill should fight. Jamal Hill versus Yuri Prochazka. So we're just going to move straight to Alex Pereira, the main man of the night. First round TKO. He called for Aspinall in Brazil, or he called for a heavyweight fight in Brazil. If they do Brazil, give him Aspinall. If they don't want to do Brazil and Aspinall, and they want to save Aspinall for Blades in England, give him Ankalaev. I think Ankalaev was saying the UFC guaranteed him the next title fight. So if that's the case, Ankalaev versus Pereira's next. That'll be run, and probably soon. I think Pereira wants to get in there again soon. But, I mean, he wants to get in there next month. So if they can get him on next month's card, whoever wants to take the fight, who cares? If Yuri wants to take that fight, run back the Yuri fight. If Aspinall's willing to take that fight, I think he is willing to take that fight in Brazil. Give him Aspinall in Brazil. Who's ever willing to take the Brazil fight, if they can get the Brazil fight done, give him them. But if we're disregarding the Brazilian fight card, and we're just saying who I think should fight Pereira next, give him Aspinall if he wants to go up, give him Ankalaev if he wants to defend. Easy enough. I just worry about that Ankalaev fight. That's a really difficult matchup. Pereira's wrestling has not been tested, really. Since that Blachowicz fight, which he won, fair, but Ankalaev's a whole different type of grappler. He's like a grappler, you know? So I think that just makes the most sense. Give him one of those guys. I think the UFC would be a bit stupid to miss out on the opportunity to have their first potential 3-division champion. Even if it's an interim champion, I think it counts. I think it counts. It's the closest thing you'll get. But, I mean, they can't miss that opportunity, surely. They can't throw the ball there. You have to book Pereira Aspinall and see, even, like, it'll even be historical that there's even a guy who could potentially become the 3-division champion. A guy who's fought for the championship in 3 divisions. It's huge. I want to fucking see it. Pereira Aspinall is what I would go first hand. But if they don't do that, Pereira Ankalaev makes the most sense. And there we have it. Those are all the fights that I think should be booked off the UFC 300. If you have any other opinions or any other fights you would like to see, put them in the comments. I'll comment. Trust me, I will comment. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, subscribe, like, comment, and all my socials in the bio. I'll see you in the next one.